My little pony, my little pony.
Welcome to the Bronyville podcast. This is Susanna. I'm here as a guest host with Chef Sandy and Apple Cider.
Hey.
We are recording in a bistro in New York City the day after the January 2012 Bronycon. And I think you all wish you were us right now.
Yeah, you're also probably enjoying a nice little background noise. This is a very sophisticated version of Bronyville. It's very posh. Just enjoyed quiche and fine cheeses.
So I am here with special permission of the guys because we're doing kind of a special thing. I have a podcast as well. It's called The Animated Things Club. You can find it online at animatedthingsclub.com. It's not on iTunes yet, but we're heading there. And what we do there is talk about all things animation and what makes great animation. And that podcast certainly would not be going very far down the road without talking about My Little Pony.
Which we are all fans at this table. So yeah, we have
even Starry Night.
Even Starry here, sitting quietly next to me. There you go. That's her.
So this is one of a two-part arc. This is a Bronyville exclusive. And then the second part of this will be a podcast that I will be hosting on Animated Things Club with my co-host John, which should be coming out in a couple of days.
Yep, so get it there. Be a good idea.
Spread the love.
So today we're going to talk about the My Little Pony fan, the fans, the fan society, the fan culture, and the way the show has a relationship with that. And, it's a good time to do it because we had the con yesterday, so we were right in the middle of it.
Yeah, there might have been a few fans we saw yesterday. I don't know.
There have been a few people involved with the show.
One or two.
700 plus.
Something like that.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, that was insane. That was crazy. I'm sure we'll end up talking, more about it in the future coming weeks once we finally get over the, shock of everything that happened. But it was insane and fun. Weird stuff and missteps aside, I think we both can agree that the con itself, for what we contributed and what we were able to do was incredible. It was just we got opportunities to do stuff that just like if we would have said like hey Chef, in 30 episodes we're going to be sitting here with 3 of the voice actresses and then and then following that up with Daniel Ingram on the phone, we'd be like, okay, sure, yeah, whatever, crazy man.
Well, I think it's kind of impressive. I think I was telling you guys earlier, but we're 1.5 broadcast seasons into the show, and conventions this size are already happening and being quickly outgrown. But Star Trek wasn't like this 1.5 seasons in. I think the fandom should be really proud of being able to pull off an event like that. Well done, Tinker.
Hey, good for you.
The size is certainly impressive. We have been, for 3 Bronycons, outstripped some small science fiction conventions or so.
Oh yeah.
In terms of size.
I mean, there's I believe a New York con that's in that same hotel every year, and I think we probably, they're like, yeah, it takes place there, and if I have to take a guess, we probably put into their numbers.
Out of the water.
So
Yeah, the venue itself was far too small for the crowd that we had.
which is changing too. So.
Yeah. I think that's kind of par for the course, though. As in everything else, this kind of fandom always ends up. The amount of Brony fans that there are is much bigger than anyone estimates at any given time, it seems.
Well, it's one of those things where you look and, I think Equestria Daily, the big website for all, for pretty much finding most of the news and fic and stuff out there, is just about to hit 100 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's only existed for less than a year.
Yeah, it's about to hit 100 million. I can't take the clicker right now, but I really want to. But yeah, it's just like it just keeps going. I mean, our show itself, our numbers just shock us sometimes.
Yeah. And the explosive growth for the community is kind of strange because where it spawned, and then once it got out there, it went everywhere. So, like, on Shoryuken.com, which is a fighting website, there's a My Little Pony thread. On MMO Champion, which is a WoW website, there's a pony thread. Everywhere you go, there's Reddit, there's our My Little Pony, Minecraft.
Let me go play Terraria as Vinyl Scratch, you know.
Yeah. Oh, there's a mod for that?
Oh, yes, there is. Go check it out. Changes all the demon eyes into parasprites. It's pretty amazing.
The guys that did Yogscast, which is 1 million subscriber, or like 100 million, crazy number of subscribers. And they did their Sunshine of It's Your Pony of the Year as the My Little Pony mod for a series. And they're running around as the ponies, and they're one of the female contributors is a big fan.
Yeah, and you were seeing it pop up in comics and like really. Who I'm trying to think. Foxtrot, I think, has had like snuck it in there a few times.
That they would have to because he always does.
Oh
that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Sandra and Woo, which is a webcomic, has had that. You know, a lot of webcomics, even some print comics and newspapers have had allusions to pony characters.
And of course, they were on Colbert.
Yeah,
I don't think Colbert might not have known what he was actually talking about when he started referencing bronies. But
shout out to all my bronies.
Yes.
Yeah, and then there's all the news articles that have been coming out too about it. You know that
there will be a couple after this convention.
Oh, I know there will be at least a few other ones as well.
Oh, and then just to everyone listening to this, if you didn't catch the live streaming of the con yesterday, go to bronystudy.com. There is a clinical psychologist who is conducting a study of bronies to figure out why people like the fandom and to help give it a positive media spin, which is really important. And he's really cool, and he really wants to talk to bronies. So check out bronystudy.com.
Yeah, he's being a psych major myself. I was just kind of like, ooh, I love this kind of stuff. I almost wanted to jump in there, but it was only a short time and just be like, what was the standard deviation? This is an ANOVA. Come on.
And what other communities had, like, okay, I'm a psychologist, I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
I mean, what other communities have had that happen? Because
he was telling me afterwards that he has some coworkers that have struggled to get like 200 respondents to a study, and over a weekend he had over 1,000.
Yeah.
So.
Because we're like, sure, we'll talk about ponies and the stuff we like about the show, and
I think it's kind of I think that goes into kind of the thing of just the community itself wanting to be open, in its own way of just like, hey, this gets posted. Could you guys go in and mention, put in your information here because they want to find out a research study, and instead of being all like, oh no, they'll try and mess with it or look at something or try and make it bad. It's like, oh no, that sounds genuinely cool. Let's go do that.
I did it.
Yeah, I did it as well.
When it was posted.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet, but
heresy.
Well, if it hadn't been really late when I got home last night, I would have done it right away. But I fell asleep instead, and then the first thing I did this morning was come back to do this. So
yeah,
clearly this is where my priorities are.
In our posh palatial estate, as you can hear,
in our Manhattan bistro.
Yes.
So one of the things I was really hoping to talk to you guys about is the interaction between the people who make the animated show and the fan community, because it really stands out to me as one of the reasons why this show is going to continue to be successful is the amount of fan service that it gets into. To my knowledge, there's only really one other show on the air right now that's doing that, and that's Adventure Time. And I'll be talking about that on my show at a different time, but the strongest example that comes to me is how there was this background pony. You may have heard of her. There was an animation mistake, and she went cross-eyed. And then the fans jumped onto her and gave her a whole personality and created a whole backstory for her. And then the people making the show saw how much everyone loved her and started incorporating her more and going with the personality that had been fan established.
Yes, the infamous Derpy Hooves.
Yes.
He's a silly pony.
Yeah, just appeared in the first episode in the background. Just eyes were wall-eyed, as we like to say, just all over the place.
See it? Oh, no, we're good.
And just wanted to just go. Okay, let me think. Yeah, and just I guess the animators went, oh hey, this looks like it's real popular. So when they had another scene a little bit down the road, they went, they actually said, no, let's use this character that they said, drop her inside of here, keep the crazy eye, so that way they'll really they'll identify that with that. And when that happened, people were like, oh, they're paying attention.
So, keeping it clean, of course.
Yes.
What other examples can we just throw out on the table about how this show has done a lot of fan service?
Well, you want to go? I mean, I've got one to do a little bit more fan service. Things like with the Derpy, there's been other background characters that have been used, in continuation before. There's a few others. Octavia, who, for instance, is the infamous battle of cellist or bassist. There was a character that kind of appeared for a moment in one episode, and then, subsequently, come the next season, there is a prominent pull away as she is playing. It's like, we know that you like this character, so here she is again,
Yeah. And you usually see, certain background ponies together all the time. So you have people that have, taken the fact that these two ponies show up together and made stories about it and stuff. So they're consistent in their usage of some of the background characters.
Right.
Which is good because the community will latch onto that and build with it.
Okay.
The animators seem content to keep doing it, so we'll...
And the benefit is that they take enough, but they do not take too much in the extent that they are paying attention, but they're not paying attention that they're actually absorbing everything that's out there. Because
they're not letting the fan community make decisions on the actual direction of the show.
Right. They're just doing a little nod to the community because Jason himself has said, we're not making it for you. We're not making it for the kids. We're making it for ourselves, something that we can be proud of. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be like, oh, the fan community thinks this should happen.
Which in itself is the fact that they're in a position to be allowed to do that and be able to do that is really amazing and phenomenal. And we're very lucky that we get to see the results of that, and they're very lucky to be able to have that opportunity artistically. Mm-hmm. So at the con yesterday, there was an episode viewing. Mm-hmm. Hasbro allowed to be showed at the con the episode that premiered yesterday. So we all got to watch. What was the name of it?
Oh boy, you're
Family Appreciation Day.
Thank you for the save.
And I thought that was really cool too because there's somebody in a derpy costume that delivered it to the stage.
Oh, that was
and
great.
It was a hub logoed mailer. Inside was a little note card that said "Enjoy" and had the business card.
Oh, and in case anybody didn't know yet, Lauren Faust has confirmed for the next Bronycon, which is in June. So
which
you probably want to go see that if you're a fan of the show.
We're already getting offers to be flown back for it. Just be like, so you're going to be interviewing Faust, right? Oh boy, maybe.
But yeah, it was their director of communications and publicity for the hub. Wrote a little handwritten note and attached his business card or her first initials and surname, so I don't know. But it was like, that's really cool that they're like, you're a big deal, you're part of our fan community, so we're going to give
Thank you for being fans.
Yeah, thanks for being fans, but we'll send you a watermarked, not for distribution DVD that you can show day of.
Yeah, high def, and this is legal for you. Thumbs up.
And it wasn't
I really
even
hope the DVD found its way back.
Well, it wasn't even the fact that they allowed us to do that, but they gave the experience to all of those people who were packed in that room. Got the experience of watching it with all of those other people, and that is, everybody's shrieking at this or shrieking at that or laughing or with the whole dictionary line popping up again.
Oh man!
But it reminded me, and I'm going cross fandoms here. I went to see the Twilight movie the night it came out. I went to the midnight showing. Not so much because I wanted to see Twilight, but I wanted to be in that room full of 13-year-old girls absolutely freaking out. Because that's so fun to just get caught up in everything that goes on when people get so excited together.
The zeitgeist.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to say that I keep hitting the table. I shouldn't do that.
Bad man, you.
I have to say that there is a certain quality that you can't get by watching it by yourself of watching it with people from the community.
Yeah.
Because they'll comment during the episode on maybe something you didn't think of or maybe something you didn't notice that you have to, I gotta watch it again.
And this is one of the best parts about fandom, being able to meet other people you have things in common with and have similar views about.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, to kind of add to that, to the episode thing, there are plenty of people, I'm going to use just Equestria Daily because it is the biggest site, when they post an episode, there is 400, 500 comments of, did you see that? Oh my god, that was so, I like that, did you notice this? This is how I felt about it. So there definitely is an online interchange on that. And kind of to the point of meeting locals, we came here because, it was a massive con, but we were both very active in local communities, local meetup groups to, just to be like, hey, we want to hang out with people who enjoy this kind of thing, that we can base that, hey, we enjoy this, we like this, and for a lot of the cases, kind of follow. They said it in the psychology thing pretty well, of just that there is morals that are attached to the show that the community follow. They kind of go, you know what, being friendly, being nice, is something that should be, praised and that you should really strive to do.
And I hear that a lot of people got into the show because of the attitude that the fans have. Because they thought the fandom seemed really cool, seemed really nice, seemed not into starting fights or anything like that, and that was the kind of people they wanted to hang out with. Yeah.
I kind of mentioned a little earlier, one of the funniest things for me when I first started looking into it was just the realization of going, wait, people are being nice on the internet? What's going on? This, how can this possibly be? When you're surrounded by it and the constant cynicism machine that's built on top of it, it's...
And that's another thing that people in the media have kind of hot on, that it's the people who like the show are sincere in their like of it. It's not to be trendy, it's not to be hipsters. Well, for some people it is, but the vast majority of the fans they genuinely like it, they genuinely take it at face value, and they can appreciate what talk about on the shows. Because the median age is 21, but the morals in the show, they're not in your face. They're lessons anybody can use.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing new about what's being said. The difference is, the way that it is being said. They're conveying very basic messages, but with with things that are almost Disney-esque that you could enjoy no matter what your age range. And that, kind of back to the point of they wanted to make something that they enjoyed making.
To everybody. And they also, I think Lauren Foster said that when she put the show together, she wanted something that, even though it was being made at the time for young girls, that those young girls' dads would enjoy watching the show with them, or the whole family could sit down and enjoy it together. So,
I was speaking to a fan earlier today, to follow that same vein, who in the 90s, we would watch Saturday morning cartoons together occasionally. We would watch Animaniacs, we'd watch Batman, we'd watch Pinky and the Brain. My dad loved Pinky and the Brain. And we would sit down and watch them together. And they're kids' cartoons, but they were written smart enough that he could enjoy it too. And they'd make, sometimes the jokes that would go over my head that would make him laugh. And now that if you go back and you watch them, I get them now and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And
it's the old Muppet Show theory.
Yeah, and it's like, this is another show that doesn't make really jokes that go over people's heads, but it's written in such a way that you don't feel dumber for watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some really genuinely bad children's cartoons.
Hey now, calm down. No hating in here. But
the opinions of Starry Night do not necessarily reflect the opinions of anybody else on the podcast.
She's our own little portable hate machine over here.
Dora the Explorer is made for extremely young girls, and only for them.
Yeah.
And it has its point. It has its purpose. And there's plenty of other shows that are.
You can make foxes not steal things by telling them no swiping.
Oh, dag, I was always wondering how to stop that. I just, it was one of those things of, just there are plenty of shows out there that follow the base model of, hey, it's a girls' show, they're cutesy things. This week they're going to make pies, and oh no, they forgot to bring sugar to make the pie, so one of them will go,
if you put chocolate chips, potato chips and lemon juice in them, they'll turn out just fine.
Yeah, and then, it's very formulaic, and they don't ever try to really try anything new, because if they follow the recipe, the episode will get done. They'll get paid the same amount of money, ad nauseum.
Well, one of the really funny instances of using the whole baking cookies, or in this case muffins, the whole baked pads thing, that was just sort of a throwaway portion of a single episode of showing that Applejack was really exhausted back in Applebuck season. But it was an instance where they didn't follow the recipe, and there was actually repercussions for the people in town. They all got sick, and I thought that was kind of funny because it was just showing that Applejack's really exhausted.
Yeah.
I just rewatched the episode that had Gilda in it. What was the name of that one? I keep
Griffin the Brush Off.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know it's a fan fail, but one of the things that I really like about that episode is they get around to trying to prank in Fluttershy, and they make a point of saying, no, you have to draw the line and know that some people are not going to be okay with this, and you have to learn how to make that judgment.
Yeah.
And I just like it when the realistic aspects of social interaction actually are reflected in kids' entertainment.
Yeah. Well, it's also shown that, apparently that they are friends. That, Pinkie Pie is really concerned about Fluttershy's well-being. And then, when Gilda makes Fluttershy cry, the pony that gets really upset is Pinkie.
Yeah.
Because she's really concerned for her friends.
Yeah.
And then, later on, in, Over a Barrel, Fluttershy's really happy to see Pinkie again. Because he wandered off in the desert. It shows that they're good friends. And, even the wacky party pony can have the nice quiet friend and can respect her boundaries.
Yeah, it's very realistic, because you get all sorts of personalities and types out there. And but we were talking about fandoms.
Yeah.
There's so many good things to talk about this show. It's so hard to stay focused.
Yeah. We love ponies.
To kind of add to, let me add this particular fun bit, which is to kind of go on to the dynamics of how vast these characters can be. When the season started, one of the characters is Rarity, and Rarity is very fashion-based, very clothes-based, just like, I'm so, I'm a fashionista, this is how great I am in some sense. And for the most part, the first few episodes is just like, whatever, this character is fashion-based, I'll probably never really like her. And then she ends up having 2 episodes during the first season where she just kind of does her thing, and you gain this immense respect for her. Yeah. Just as this character, just like
there's depth of character there. Yeah, there's reasons to like her beyond her stereotype.
Yeah, she's an artist. She, tries real hard. She's put into hard circumstances, and those around her don't understand how hard of a situation they're putting her in. And that she eventually works herself for something that she's not proud about, but it is what somebody else wants. And that's something that I can't think of what we would consider a children's cartoon show that would go into that minute. That almost seemed like a writer was sitting there just done with another project and said, I need to write for this pony thing. All right, here we go.
Well, Lauren Faust was a writer for a lot of shows. I can't remember which show it was she was the head writer for, but I know there's specifically some episodes on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends that got into real depth of human interaction, and where she had written. So she's very, very good with that side of things. On top of all the other things she's very good at. While you guys are in the city, you should go check out the FAO short store. There might be some of her Milky Way Girls stuff.
Yeah, I need to go grab that. Galaxy Girls.
And also, if you're in Manhattan right now, the Toys R Us store does have a My Little Pony Con in their carousel.
Yep. So we saw that.
Neat store.
First thing I took them to is just like, we are going to Times Square and you are going to the Toys R Us. Take a look at this.
Did you see the T-Rex?
Oh, yeah.
I love the T-Rex.
The T-Rex is great.
Yeah.
You have to stick around to wait till he freaks out, though, and goes, rawr, and bends over and everything.
I just thought that was funny. It's like, that Toys R Us has been there for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
The Jurassic Park, like, the kids that are in that store now, it's like, what's Jurassic Park?
Yeah, but come on, every kid loves a dinosaur.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, big growing dinosaur, and you're next to bunches of Legos. It's awesome.
Oh, and they have the Candyland section? Oh, my God.
I just saw all the Wonka stuff, and I was like, really? Whoa.
Did you see that giant box of nerds you could get that had 52 boxes of nerds in it?
Yeah. It looked like a cereal box, like this big of nerds.
It was like $24. It's like 50 cents a box of nerds.
I was still
really kind of wanted to buy it.
I was still surprised at like the 2.5 feet of Twizzlers you could get.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure they had probably like the 1 pound gummy worms too.
Yes, let's do this. All right, after this, I can't bang the table. There, we're gonna.
How can you still be hungry?
No, I'm not.
We're gonna get a 1 pound gummy worm.
But it's simply on principle at this point.
So getting back to Bronycon.
No, we can't talk about gummy bears anymore. All right.
As much as I'd love to. Bronycon. So I go to a lot of conventions, both for fun and for work. And one of the things that really stood out to me about Bronycon yesterday was the fact that everybody there was really freaking out and being really careful about certain things that you don't really see people normally being careful about. The first thing was the whole no adult material rule, which not just because the voice actors were there, but because there were children in attendance. And I thought that was a really big deal because if you go to, say, the New York Comic Con, just the way people dress walking in through the door shows that they don't have respect for those sorts of lines, or the facts that they're going to be around children or anything else like that. And then the second thing I was noticing on is that I didn't hear anybody swearing. I think I came with a friend and he said at one point to me, I think I heard someone just say darn. What kind of convention is this? and he was just amazed the whole time at how everyone just had this great sense of goodwill. Like the security guards, if you had a question for them, genuinely went out of their way to help you. Yeah. And everybody was really, really, really focusing on making sure that the voice actors and Daniel Ingram, when he was a part of it, that they felt respected, that no boundaries were crossed, that everyone was being really nice about it. And that's a really big deal. It doesn't really exist in a lot of other fandoms. And I think the Brony community should be really proud of themselves for that. And I think that if that attitude could spread, that would be wonderful. But congratulations, guys, for having the most... it seemed like even the people who had to wait in line outside for the capacity limit to go down were just having a good time.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
When I passed them, they had a guitar and were singing
there you go.
At the gala. So...
I mean, it's one of those things that even if they're waiting in line, they're waiting in line with a bunch of other Pony fans.
Yeah, and they're just happy to hang out and talk and spend time together.
I mean, to kind of give an idea with just the friendliness, one of the things that when we set out our show was just like, listen, we want to make something where if somebody is listening, just in the same vein of the show, if there is a guy listening to this and they have their daughter come and start listening as well, it's not that maybe they won't understand everything we're talking about, but we want it so that they're not going to be, bombarded with curse words. If anybody curses,
or even discussion of topics that are just not appropriate for the young children.
If somebody curses on the show, we simply Fluttershy yay it out, and it's totally fine. And I've found that I have to, if I want to cuss, I have to make a conscious effort to do it. I can't do it anymore, like automatically on the show.
You see, ponies are good for you.
I can't. Well,
they cleaned up your language.
But then I have Starry next to me, and the moment that this episode's off, it's just, that filter is gone. I love you, baby, by the way.
It is because, to me, it is a respect for the community and a respect for myself and the desire to put forth a good show that anybody can watch. Anybody can listen to and download it, and they're not going to find anything objectionable. Other than the fact that maybe because guys like it, they object to that. Well, that's their problem.
And then bringing it back to the Brony study, there's a lot of the psychologist, the actual clinical psychologist, breaking that down, has a lot of reasons to say why it's totally okay for guys to like this and why even if you don't understand it, you should support them. Continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. But when it comes to the show, we want to be mainstream. We want to be clean. We want to put forth if people go to iTunes a lot of days, we're in the top 120 of TV. So if somebody goes there and they see Bronyville, we're going to be their first impression on the community.
Right.
And it's insane to see the light company that we're with. I mean, like Kevin Smith and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, some really adult stuff, some really like established stuff, like some of the Harry Potter community stuff.
Anime World Order, stuff like that. These are established shows that have been around for years, and then we're up there with them. But if people see us and want to give us a shot, they're going to find a show that's clean, non-objectionable. We'll talk about something and be really good-natured about it. And
we've started getting a lot of people who have sent us emails saying, I just found you on iTunes, and because of that found the show.
Yeah.
Like, we're starting to finally get that flow back of the people flowing in and becoming part of the community simply based off of our show, which is turning into this crazy, like
such an honor.
Oh my gosh, weird.
I'm bringing Pony to all these people.
Ambassadors of Pony.
I know. I wish we could have like a counter. Some people just have to hit it every time they're like, all right, we're new.
Yeah. You know? But it is good to see that our little project, we'll do an episode and get it out of our system, has turned into something so very positive for the community.
Yeah.
Because we have, in a way, become the faces, the voices of the community for a lot of it. We have the widest reach in terms of podcasts.
And we have a very wide reach in podcasts, and I think one of the things we very much strive for is neutrality.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, you know, I love the pony groups and everybody that's out there, but sometimes there are infighting, and this just happens with large groups of people. You have people that not exactly don't deal with each other.
Well, I think you were telling me a little while ago that that's one of the reasons you left a previous fandom.
Yeah,
because of the infighting. It's just not worth the drama.
It's not any good. It's just people. It's so hard to kind of put into words, but it's just the negativity, and it's really a bummer. And to find a community where one of the main things is don't be negative. Try and be positive and there for each other is something that in today's day and age is just almost like obscene to think about. It's such a terrible thing to try and be a nice person.
How dare you?
I know. So it's just kind of wild on that.
So I gotta ask,
go for
you
it.
guys both had the opportunity to interview some pretty big people yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Not just Daniel Ingram, but also
Nicole, Ashley, and Andrea. Yeah, the three voice actresses for Nicole being the Cheerily and Princess Celestia. Let's see, Ashley, who is Rainbow Dash and Applejack, and Andrea, who is the voice of Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie, and additional other voices amongst all of them.
Background.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask to both of you, what is it like as having started out as fans and starting a podcast just so you could have a forum to go, I love this so much. How do you feel about the fact that turned into that you got to be able to interview people who are part of this thing that means so much to you?
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. It's an amazing honor, and the fact that we both came into this like we have to be so professional because if we blow this, we're done.
Yeah.
And we were like, we brought our A game. I feel we really did a good job. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in my head, I don't even realize I did it. I put myself in like this little mind bubble where it's just like, all right, I've just got something I got to do. I'm going to rush through it, and at some point, I'm probably going to be watching an episode and like, yeah, I talked to her. Oh God, I talked to her. We had a conversation.
Now, how would you guys react if your OCs ended up as background?
Oh, I never expect that to happen, but that would be the victory lap.
Yeah, that would be sort of the pinnacle of success.
That would be the slap the table, walk out of the room with hands raised, just done. And never expect it, and don't ever think it will, just because of all the legality craziness. But
were it to happen, we'd be very happy.
Yeah, it would even have to be just the subtlest of nods, and we'd just run out the room. I mean, one of the first things we had happen was we set up the podcast, and it was like episode 5 or 6, and then Jason Thiessen Twittered. He's like listening to Bronyville podcast, and we posted it, and we were just like, I think you, Chef, I don't think you were home at the time, but I was just sitting there waiting for, no, I think I messaged you, and then you saw it, or you messaged me. We both just kind of freaked out at the same time. And I didn't have anybody there but my roommates at the time, and I was just waiting at the door to tell them.
You see, and that's one of the reasons why I think this show is so successful, is because you guys started this huge fan thing, a service to the fan community and something to entertain yourselves. And the director of the show was like, hey, this is great, and let you know that he thought that. Well, doesn't that make you just love the show even more?
Enough just to say it to Twitter and say, I am listening to it. You know, which we were like, did you like it? Did you like it? And never got anything back, but still to the point that he went, I am listening to this, is enough of a vote of confidence, in itself.
I thought the original tweet was very positive. I thought it was a very good thing. Sure. I don't remember what exactly he said.
It was like, hey, there's this podcast called Bronyville. I'm going to give it a listen.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't think he would have given it a shout out if he didn't feel it was okay to suggest stuff.
Yeah, that as well. So. You know, and as said, we're going to next month. We're actually shipping this guy across the other side of the United States to actually interview Jason. So we've got that coming up, and that's animation on display.
I'm hyped for that. It's a 3-day con, anime and stuff. But
where's it? Give a shout out so that listeners know where's that going to be.
Animation on display, San Francisco. It is it's mid-February. Just Google animation on display. You can find it. I'm going to be there. Chef's going to be there. Our meetup group already has like 50 people of itself that's going to be there. So we're going to be in attendance, and we're going to be just. It sounds like at this point on stage at least at some point having him and just talking about the show.
How did they ask you to interview them, or did you guys try to get him to interview at that spot?
I simply noticed that, hey, look, animation on display. He's a guest of honor, and I just immediately contacted the con and went, hi, this is us. Can we be there? You know, just like, and they were like, yeah, sure, dude. Yeah, if you want that, we can do it. And, you know,
you also were like, yeah, we're bringing like 50 people to the con, and they're like, cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's do this.
It's a really affordable little con too.
It's just in Japantown, San Francisco, in that area. So South San Fran.
As long as we're talking about cons and affordable, I again want to say that I think the Bronycon that just happened yesterday was a really great achievement, and even if you were one of those people who had to wait a little bit to get in, it was a really great service that a lot of effort went into, and putting things together like that is not easy. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. If you went and you enjoyed it, or even if you didn't, you enjoyed like 75% of it, you should send Purple Tinker a message and say thank you, because she probably went crazy putting this whole thing together, and she did it for us. She did it to make the fans happy. She did it so that we could have a platform to have socialization and things like that. And the person in charge of these events often gets underappreciated. So a little thank you shout out to Purple Tinker for putting the Brony show together. I mean the BronyCon together.
She's helped put our community on the map and got us access to these voice actresses and Daniel. Yeah,
and Chef and I both can agree, we both worked in fan communities before, worked on conventions before, and she is doing it might be a one-day convention, but she does this like every 3 or 4 months, which and to us is just like insanity.
Yeah, most conventions only take place once a year, and this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, to have it, sure, it's one day, but it's one day for every few months. And, Lauren Faust is going to be coming to the next one. Is just like, whoa, okay, whoa.
Oh, when that got announced, the room...
I wasn't there, but I just saw the Twitter feed just lose its brain.
The room dissolved. It was crazy. Everybody was freaking out. People were standing up and screaming and shouting. But, I mean, it's really exciting. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And that if you can get to the next Brony show to see that, you should.
Yeah.
And that's like the peak of legitimacy. You've got the creator of the show that you're here to share your love about is there, and you can be like, we love you, Lauren, oh my God.
Well, you also got to remember that the whole, the love of the fandom and the respect for the fandom started with her as the creator of the show, and because she took several public stances early on about how she supported the fandom and supported the idea of fandoms, no matter what fandom it was, and definitely supported anybody who was coming to her show from outside of the box. So that great attitude, she probably set the tone for the entire show. I'm sure everybody else who is following through with it is, has the same views, but it started with her.
Mm-hmm. And Jason pretty much, states that as well. He's just like, we both worked on it, but it is her brainchild.
Yeah.
She made this what it is.
And one of the good things, she also continues to be like, I support these fans.
Yeah.
Someone's like, how do you feel about unleashing these people? And she's like, I'm quite proud that I did.
Yeah. Well, did you see the thing that she put up on her DeviantArt page? The whole, she posted a huge fact.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
how many people would even have taken the time to do that?
Oh, and she still responds to messages.
Oh, yeah.
She still, somebody will leave a message of just like, hey, we were kind of wondering how this is, and she'll be like, every once in a while, she'll go, oh no, well, this is in the context of how I built the show, and it could be different, but this is my explanation for it. And the fact that you have a creative director actually reaching out to DeviantArt account 8672, it's ridiculous.
It's very nice to get, word of God, as it were.
Yeah.
Word of goddess.
Yeah. The word of Faust.
When someone asks a random question and she gives an answer, there you go.
So, I guess the theory that I'm kind of trying to get at is this show more successful because of how the fandom has been treated by the people who are making the show? Yes or no?
Yes. Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt on that.
Okay.
I'll drop in this as a secondary, and I still love this show, but regular show, which is on Cartoon Network. I think that's a fantastic, silly, weird kind of show, but it doesn't get as much. The creative directors, as far as I'm aware, hasn't been as publicly out there as I'm aware. As the people in the MLP, and it's successful. It's fun. It's great.
It's got fans.
It's definitely got fans.
Oh, it definitely has. It's popular with a lot of people in my office.
Yeah, and it has its own weird mythology, but hasn't really filled into it. It hasn't really it doesn't have anything as set and as weirdly extensive as My Little Pony has gotten. But they're there. But if you mentioned Adventure Time, there's a good one.
Yeah.
Where they have integrated characters.
They based an entire episode around the gender swap fan art meme.
Yeah.
And it was the coolest thing you have ever seen, and they got Doogie Howser to play one of the main roles.
Mm-hmm.
Neil Patrick Harris.
What?
Now, see, I have to
What?
watch this
Who
now.
does that? Or what about the fact that they had a little kid submitted a fan art, and they made that character a character in the show?
Yeah, I mean that's great. I mean that is the way in this technology age, with the ability to reach out to these groups. It's almost like the way it needs to go. The entire idea of we create this in a vacuum, and you get what you get what we we deliver.
Oh, we
is
have
good
fans here. Let's give them a present. They'll like us more.
Yeah, you know. It builds loyalty. You know, anybody who knows anything is all about brand loyalty is number one, and you want to know that the people buying your product believe in it. It's the Apple way. They want, you want the people buying it not only to believe in what they're receiving, but to praise it openly so that they pull more people.
Yeah. And when it comes to the product that, as fans of the show, we're like, yeah, we'll totally buy the little blind bag ponies. Yeah, we'll totally buy the sets of the miniatures.
I bought a blind bag set yesterday.
Yeah,
I love them. They're going to go on my work computer.
There's a phrase that gets thrown around in the fandom, which is taken for Futurama. Just take my money. Just we will buy whatever you give us. Just please make us more stuff because we want to support you.
Oh, speak speaking of supporting the show, I know there's been a little bit of a fan backlash recently with the YouTube situation. And I know this is a hard situation because for some people, the option of purchasing on iTunes is not available in their country, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, especially if you want Pony to last for a long time, the best message that you can send to a company is to spend your money on the product that you like. And while you may like the blind bags and you may like all the other things that come along, what you really love is the show. So buy the show. Buy the show on iTunes if you can. We understand the DVD situation is not ideal, but if you can purchase the show on iTunes, do it. Talk with your money. Show the company with your money what you want from them.
Right. You have to come at it that way. You have to, if you are not watching it day of on the hub, or at any point there it is being rerun on the hub, things aside of how hard it is sometimes to get to that network, that and downloads from official sources is the only way that they can gauge how popular it is and that they can make money to keep making it.
Right.
So,
it's a return on your investment, and with a lot of situations, especially to certain departments of Hasbro, marketing department, accounting, whatever. That's the only way that you can contact them to tell them what you want.
Yeah.
So talk with your money. Please, I hate to be negative on this, but please don't complain if you can't get to watch it for free anymore. Because this isn't. It's a wonderful thing to have, but a lot of people put a lot of work into making it, and you should be paying them for their efforts.
And I think that there's somebody has made a website. I think it's called like mylittlepetition.com or something like that. You might need to double check, but they're actually going from the opposite route of trying to petition with Hasbro of like, listen, there are not enough avenues for people to acquire the show.
Yeah.
Please add it to iTunes internationally.
Yeah.
Or please add it to something like Hulu where you could easily grab it that way.
Even if it's with a paid subscription, I'm sure a lot of people would become members just to get that show.
Oh God, I would. Yeah. I know Starry here would love it. And I think another thing that I brought up recently to the person running that was like, listen, this is something that not only would help people that are, part of My Little Pony, we need to reach out to the Transformer groups. We need to reach out to the other fan communities that are Hasbro products that are probably suffering from the same thing of being locked into not being able to see the show legitimately.
Right.
And say, come on, let's all band together and see if we can give them enough of a push and incentive that we will purchase, we will look at your product, but you have to provide it to us.
Yeah.
There is a demand, but you are not supplying properly.
I mean, it makes sense. People want to talk about their money. They're just making it very hard.
Yeah. And I know as somebody who has purchased figurines that I try to do that as well. And, I missed the opportunity to purchase on iTunes, and I just need to go back and do that.
Yeah.
But, I try and support as much as I can, but there's only so much. People have made a budding little industry filling in the gaps that Hasbro is either slow or not willing to fill. Not to be negative.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I think it's safe to say that Hasbro is still trying to completely catch up with the popularity of My Little Pony and how it struck something that was struck a target audience. It's very different from what they were expecting.
Oh, yeah.
And that is really difficult on a certain level of business to understand, because a lot of things, especially television, and especially in the United States, is really, really dedicated by target market. And if you're not pulling in the kind of numbers that matter in your target demographic, even if you're doing amazingly in other demographic, it doesn't really necessarily get the reception, the positive reception at home.
I mean, I almost wonder in some instance that they can't really trust that demographic as well, because what if something changes and it vanishes, and they would have produced a whole bunch of material, and produced something for a community that they don't know could either vanish or backlash on them in a short period of time, whereas little girls are not going to just start tossing away their little pony toys,
right?
If something doesn't go their way,
right? Yeah. Which is understandable, but then you also look at it in the situation of how back when the Muppet Show was running, all the stars who got on the Muppet Show the adults that were going towards that show that a lot of kids were watching, some people, in their 30s or late 20s now only know of certain stars from the era because they were on the Muppet Show. So if you hit the young market, they know about that product forever. And there's so many. I can't remember what they were called. Oh, they were called Thunder Dads. People who love the Thundercats now, who have kids now that they're looking to share it with, or the people who now still, like myself, was really big into G1, and I still have all my G1 ponies. They're in storage, but I have them and I love them, and Care Bears and all those other shows that were around. The shows that you remember as a kid loving stick with you.
Yeah. Well, my sister was a big fan of G1, and she still has a Firefly plush from,
just because of the Lauren Faust endorsement of that character, that is probably worth so much money right now.
Oh, probably. I mean, it's an original Firefly with the pink and the double lightning bolts, and that was just her plush. That was when she was a kid, and she still has it. And now she's a big fan of the current generation, and is absolutely thrilled that there's a new cartoon, and she watches it. And, I got her a Twilight Sparkles balloon for Christmas. She's 4 years my junior. She's 24.
Yeah, she loved it,
and she was like, "Oh my god, thank you!"
I now have a nightlight.
And she was like, push the button and it plays the tune. He's like,
yeah, that's a
bunch of amazing dorks.
And it's good that a lot of people nowadays, like you said, they grew up with this and they see a new iteration and they can understand why people like it.
Not all of the people who are into G1 are a fan of this, and that's okay, because if you're into it for a certain reason, this may not be the same reason. And I think some of the fans are probably like, I don't know if I relate to these new fans, and that happens too, because a lot of this comes from subculture things.
We've heard that. We had one of our Lost episodes, which we're going to have to redo. We had one of our local users on just to be like, hey, I'm part of one of the big G1 communities, one of the big trading communities, and for the most part, they love the new, they love the G4 community because, for the most part, it was getting stale, nothing was happening, it was just, there wasn't really much being done.
Up until now, I just don't think it has been as popular as it was G1 and G1.5. If 1.5 is even the right way to phrase it. When I was a kid and I was into it, it was huge. Everybody was into it. And then it slowly tapered off like a lot of things did. And then this happened, and now it's as popular, if not more popular, than it ever was in the first place. So it's the first real, renaissance of pony, I guess. TM.
Le Renaissance de Pony.
And, when I was a kid, they had the G.I. Joe, and they tried to reboot G.I. Joe, and unfortunately I don't think they did very well. G.I. Joe Renegades. So, I watched the ponies instead. I never watched the ponies when I was younger, so G4 is my first real interaction with ponies. So, going back and watching the earlier stuff's kind of like, I like the G4 a lot.
And I had kind of a period where I didn't, cartoons were awesome for me as a kid, and then I got older, and I just couldn't tell if the quality just diminished or it just wasn't for me anymore.
Well, but oddly enough, cartoons are sometimes just for kids.
Yeah, I know. That's weird.
Things like Dora the Explorer.
Yeah.
Not accessible to adults, really. Great show for kids. Great teaching show. Ni Hao Kai Lan. Beautiful show. Wonderful for children. An adult might get a little bored.
Yeah, and it took me actually a while to get back into animation and things like that. As I said, I think regular shows great. I need to watch Adventure Time because it looks like it's right up my alley. I just don't have that. And the ponies came out, but before that, I would see clips of Teen Titans, and I go, that looks really good. I just can't commit to sitting down and watching a whole bunch of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons I liked Adult Swim back when I first got into Adult Swim when it was only one night a week. And it was just having animation that was accessible. It wasn't even necessarily animation where you could swear or do all these other things. It was just animation that was for adults and for adult sensibilities and humor. And and it was home movies and a couple of other things, and I loved it. It was so great to see that kind of a thing.
Gundam.
Or the sci-fi
Big O.
had that
Yeah.
sci-fi had that anime thing that they would do every Saturday morning, like
Yeah.
a full anime movie.
Yeah.
I swear I saw one on there that I was just blew my mind, and I never know the name of it. And I just like there's definitely been great stuff out there, but as somebody who loves animation and stuff like that, this show kind of tapped into some sort of primal, obsessive, compulsive part of me that just made me want to find more and just delve deeper.
Download all the images.
Yes.
Download all the ponies.
I must know everything.
Now, did that come from, do you think, because I know this has been coming up in discussion throughout the whole con, and especially with Dr. Brony, I'm sorry, psychology, the Brony psychologist. I just call him Dr. Brony because it's easier for me. But the idea that this show leaves you feeling good, like as I described it earlier, as I feel like after having a really stressful day, if I can watch an episode of Pony, I feel like I just had a bubble bath. I feel fresh and I feel clean, and I just feel like it's a reset on my mood. A lot of people need that, and I feel like, is that kind of feeling really universal? Is that why people watch it? Is that why they like it?
I will say that on the way up here, I took a very circuitous route to New York, and I was really tired, and I was in the airports like 8 hours. It took me 12 hours to get to New York on 6 hours of actual flight time, and there was a point where I was like, all right, I have all of season 2 up till the current episode on my phone, and I sat down and I watched a couple episodes, and I felt better. And like, I watched Luna Eclipse.
Oh, that's such a good episode.
And like, I was sitting there in the dark in sort of the back corner of the plane watching my phone, and I had this big grin on my face, and I noticed it. I'm like, I'm smiling and watching these ponies.
You know, it's funny. I had a friend come to the con with me yesterday who was kind of interested in this stuff because I was interested, but it's not really his kind of a fan thing. And then after having been there, he was like, pick out a couple episodes for me. I want to watch. This fan community intrigues me. It's interesting. I want to know what's going on here.
The fan community and everything attached to it. The way it's so weird to see what happens. To kind of follow my progression on this was just like, okay, watch a few episodes. That was interesting. Look at some of the art. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Find like sites like Equestria Daily and some of the news sites. Wow, there's a lot being generated.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube. Wait, remixes of music?
Oh my god.
And then not only that, but the composer endorses all of these remixes and was giving shout-outs to composers that he liked.
Yeah, Daniel Ingram
cool
is
is
an
that?
awesome dude. I mean, he has all my respect because, like, all the musicians were crowded up during his interview, right?
It was like the Grammys. They were just invaded breath.
It was at the con. All of the musicians, when they were doing the Skype, when Chef Sandy and Apple Cider were doing the Skype interview with Daniel Ingram, there was a line 2 people deep of Brony composers on their knees by the stage, looking up at the giant Skype screen, going, Daniel Ingram.
They turned the camera to them at one point, and they just go like.
They freaked out. They were like waving and hopping up and down.
It could have been like somebody just plugged in a light bulb right there. They were just so bright,
And he's like, oh man, and this guy right here, I love his stuff, and the guy's in the audience, and he's like,
I think
praise Celestia.
I think that happens when every time Lauren Faust or one of the other people involved in the show favorites a fan art on DeviantArt.
Oh,
All
yeah.
of a sudden, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Lauren Faust is and justifiably so, But it's so cool that she does that.
And there's some of these, the artists do so much, but the fact that, like you said, Lauren, will favorite things from the fan community, and some of that stuff, it's like these people spend days working on. It's so impressive. And to get recognition like that from the creators of the show for whatever medium they're working in is just astounding. That they're not just going, oh, we have a fan community. They're like, we've got a fan community, and it's great. Look at all this art. Listen to all this music.
The thing that's happened really recently, and I think Foss kind of was the reason that this has happened as much.
I gotta say, because I don't actually know this. Is it Faust or Faust?
I don't know. I say things wrong all the time, so it could be Faust.
I think it's Faust.
All right. Blah, 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 blah.
If we're wrong, people will let us know.
I know.
Well, sorry. Sorry, Lauren Faust. I'm sorry.
I'll get it right by the time we interview you, all right?
We promise.
You better.
No.
Get a Brony kicking.
This interview is over. Kick over chair and walk out.
I think of all the things happening, that's really low on the list of
Flip
possibilities.
table.
Goes and throttles me. Oh, well, I have a story. But one thing that this has happened a lot recently.
Have you guys noticed that it's actually dark outside?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
rather weird.
Well, it's 5 o'clock, and
wow,
we're pretty far north.
Okay, so we have been holding up a table at this bistro for about 3 hours now, so we might have to wrap this up.
At some point. I want to...
There's just, like you said, there's so much to talk about. And we're just
well, the last thing, if I can
okay, so let's do a couple of closing things then, so we can get out of here before they kick us out.
Sure. The last thing I want to say, just kind of on that similar vein, is Lauren Faust, back when had a donation that she had for the tsunami victims.
Right.
And she did these pictures, and they raised, what was it, $14,000 for the
crazy, something like that, yeah.
So just a ridiculous, and she just made 3 sketches.
Right.
Just a
well,
few.
didn't she do a derpy?
She did a derpy, and they had Twilight and a bunch of other original sketches, and it made $14,000. And I don't know.
Didn't at least one person who won turn around and sell it for charity again?
I don't know. Well, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. So it was like, and that's wonderful. That's so giving.
But then to later, there's been this just donation drive just constantly that's been going on.
Bronies for Good did the Humble Brony bundle.
Yeah, or at the Humble Brony bundle, or yesterday at the con there was a whole canned foods drive table.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was wonderful.
Then they're doing a charity album called Smile. We're actually going to have one of the guys on our show, and a bunch of musicians got together, and they're doing a 100% donation goes to a children's cancer foundation.
That's wonderful.
And I'm like, it's so cool that the community is saying, we want to have a good impression, we want to do good, so we're going to pool our resources and do good.
Mm-hmm. And that was kind of one of the Nicole, the voice actress for Celestia, kind of stated if there was anything I wanted this community to do, would be to reach out to children and things like that. And it was great to go with her and be like, ho ho ho, guess what we did? And she was like, that's amazing, that's great, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, and she was like, I'm so glad that she did the Celestia voice, My Little Ponies, and everyone's like, yeah!
We have gotten Celestia's praise, hooray!
Celestia officially endorses your charity efforts. Keep that in mind, kids.
Yeah.
All right, Sheffers, how about you closing statements?
This has been a lot of fun. You know, I really love this community, and I'm glad that our show has become such a good part of it, and that we can spread the love through what we do, and also supporting the people that do so much for the community, the fan artists, the fan musicians, everybody that creates all the content that we can all enjoy, and so that all the people can see it. It's great, and I'm honored to be part of it.
I guess my closing statement would be thank you for tuning into this podcast. Thank you to the Brony guys for being Apple Cider and Chef Sandy for being so excited to do this with me. And the discussion will be continued over at my podcast, animatedthingsclub.com, where me and my co-host John will be discussing the technical aspects of what makes My Little Pony such a phenomenal show and so great. And you can find us on Twitter as Animated Things. You can find us online at animatedthingsclub.com, and you can find us on Facebook too.
Hey Starry, any closing comments too? Nope, gotcha.
Thank you for listening, guys, and thanks for coming to Bronycon if you did. Thanks for being cool fans, and yay!
Sleep well, every pony.
Adios.
Take care, guys.
Hi, this is Apple Cider from Bronyville. And And I have Chef next to me.
Hello, hello.
The Daniel Ingram interview.
Hey guys, I'm having a bit of a sound issue.
Uh-oh.
Hold on a sec, see if I can sort this out.
Okay.
Can you hear me? 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 Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Someone wiggle that microphone cable. Someone wiggle that microphone.
I can speak louder.
Someone wiggle that microphone cable. Yeah, that's better. How do I keep this interesting? You know, the first minute or so is okay, and then now you're like at 2 minutes and 3 minutes, and you're like, okay, wait a second. How do I keep this interesting? This is getting a little bit boring. So you need to always find a way to keep it interesting. I think there's one mic that's loud and one that's off. Can you check? Because I can hear something.
We're going to test this mic again. Can you hear me right now? I'm going to just keep talking and see if you can hear me. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear that.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? No. No, that's a no. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear that.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear that.
Wonderful. You were sneaky with that one. You just fed the internet and the internet rejoiced. Yes, you did. It looks like most of the musicians in the entire fandom are kind of bundled up over here. Yes, they are. We got Alex S. Omnipoint.
Electro Tank. Wooden Toaster. Commando Pony.
Acoustic Brony. Jackalap.
Rainbow Crash.
Chain Algorithms. Eurobeat Odyssey.
Microphone. Johnny Games.
It seems like it's the Emmys at this point. Yes. Alright, that's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Ingram. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Ingram on guitar. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Ingram. The internet could only handle so much awesome. There's a remix for you.
There you go.
Had to be done.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, I thought it was really fun to hear. There's so much good like dubstep and electro like remixes. In fact, those are some of the best.
Yay.
Hey Bronies, this is Mbulsht from Bronyville. I am standing here right now with Neighslayer, the first Brony metal band in the fandom. My ears are still ringing from the concert they have just put on, full of energy, life, and heavy metal. It was pretty awesome, I must admit. I've seen some of the videos of their older performances, and I have to say they are really good in comparison. About 20% cooler, exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them all a chance to introduce themselves by name and instrument, so I'll pass it the mic to the first guy here.
I'm Klisk and I play bass.
I'm Ajax, actual name. Play banjo and guitar and write and that's enough.
I'm Detonator. I'm lead guitarist, founder, and main songwriter.
I'm Jesse. I'd say I'm co-founder, given that we met then. But yeah, I play vocal cords. You know, I sing.
I'm Kez. I play mainly keyboards, but sometimes weird things like harmonicas and mandolins, and I am the lyricist of the group.
I'm Slagwork. I play drums. I think I'm the newest to the group, and I am a professional cussing machine.
All right, well, I have to say you guys are pretty awesome. I just got a few quick questions. I know you guys are out of here and soon, and I'm out of here soon. I got a lot of work I got to do with all the interviews, and I've got. So, my first question is, whose idea was this whole band?
No, me.
This guy? So Ajax, just tell me, what was your justification for creating a Brony metal band?
Well, I had no input into the community at all, except I did attend some meetups and the first Bronycon. So I was like, well, I play the banjo, so I could start a band and maybe I could sing. So I went on the discussion board on Meetup and said for Bronycon and said like, does anyone want to start a band? Detonator responded almost immediately. We formed the band. I thought I was going to do singing, and then Jason, as crazy as he is, was like, you're going to do banjo, and it's actually worked out all right so far. And we went through a few members. My drummer from my other band, it wasn't even a Brony. I got him to join just for the hell of it because we needed one, and now we have a new drummer, and our bassist was Jason's cousin, and now we have a new bassist too. So.
Detonator, would you like to say, add to that?
Yeah, I kind of owe Ajax for that thread. I actually started a semi-Brony band with my old band members. However, they were not on board with ponies for obvious reason. Actually, I didn't even want to start a band. I just wanted to have a pony concert, just to promote my own band. But unfortunately, they weren't on board with that. I threw the idea to Tinker, and then Ajax just made that thread, and it felt like a dream come true. And then I miraculously met Jesse, like, by odd circumstances.
This is the most interesting part of it. That, like, I didn't know any of that had gone on at the time. This was entirely parallel circumstances, and we had no idea of each other. So, like, no, at that time, at the first Bronycon, I had just become a Brony by, like, 2 weeks. And I was like, crap, I don't have anything to give to the community. I guess I'll throw together a cosplay. So I cosplayed Hoity-Toity. It worked out pretty
awesome.
I didn't even, like, realize I'd met Ajax, and Death I met because
I admit I squealed like a schoolgirl when I saw him.
I paid for his ticket. Oh,
yeah, like, I had a ticket, and then my friend was going to come with me, and then I managed to leave my ticket and number at my house. So I get there, I'm like, oh, crap, I should call Death. And I called him, get the extra ticket, go inside. You know, if not for all these chances, I wouldn't have been there at all.
Not only that, but we were playing Guitar Hero together, and this was before I realized that the hoity-toity cosplayer...
We had no idea who each other were.
And I noticed that he actually did have a good voice, so about a month later, I called him up and I said, hey...
Rock band.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I called him up. Listen, when we were playing Guitar Hero the other day, Rock Band, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. When we were playing the guitar game on the PS2 or something, I noticed that you had a good voice. Do you think you could sing for my band? And he said, okay. And then
I was immediately like, that's awesome. I mean, first of all, I'd suddenly become extremely in-depth with this fandom. And this was honestly just kind of a dream of mine. I'd never sung with a band or done anything with a band, and I had always wanted to. And I honestly couldn't think of a better way to do it than with Brony, so why not?
All right, very cool. Just another question for all of you. I'll go around once more. How has it been doing this with ponies? How's it been being in a Brony metal band? Is it fun? Is it not fun? Just sort of, how's it been?
I think it's quite important that you have a bit of sadomasochism within you.
Okay, that's definitely true. Yeah, we've had a bunch of rocky roads. A lot of things happened that we're not going to talk about. I don't think. Yeah, we were on the verge of almost breaking up too, and it looked like it, and he wasn't there. But we pulled together and we played our show, and even though there were some technical difficulties, we were pretty good. I think we played well, but technical difficulties. That's the greatest excuse ever. Greatest excuse.
Okay. As band leader, I'm gonna stop the ego stuff. One thing, when you are a solo musician, or when you tend to work as an individual, and you work with a bunch of people, you have to understand that you're working with 5 different people, and that's just like a slow learning process that I'm slowly learning.
We live at all corners of the globe, too.
Yeah.
Emphasis on slow.
You know,
we're in 3 different states.
Yeah, but I could say that like after like working with these guys, having optimism, even though I have high standards, and whenever they quote fail me, right? I always have this optimism going on in me, and the thing is, you have to be optimistic when you're running a band, because chances are there are going to be you are going to fail. But when you fail, you have to fail in style, and I think that's what we did. I'm very pessimistic.
We
didn't fail.
I think we
Last time was a
succeeded
fail.
with technical
Last
difficulty.
time
We succeeded with technical
Last time was a super fail.
Saved to Bazai.
How's it been?
How's it been? Yeah, it's definitely been rocky. The very beginning when we were playing with virtually no bronies was tough. Finally, we added all bronies. This is a nice thing to have, but it definitely. Death was born a soloist, so he's been working through that, and we're slowly working things out. It's really it's a long, arduous process. But honestly, how long have we been a band?
Barely.
Hasn't really been very
With
long.
the new lineup,
So,
about 3 months, like less than a year.
yeah.
Less than a year, less than like 3 months. Man.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
The new lineup.
It's really related to how much time we can actually spend succinctly with one another and practice and really feel like a band. And as long as we get that, we make progress and we sound good and we enjoy it.
I've always been delightfully oblivious to all of the major problems in the band, you know, either because I just wasn't there or just because I have this strange way of looking at things.
Emails.
Yeah, I know. But when it comes to things like that, you know, I believe that if you're going to be in a band, if you're going to make music to begin with, you have to have that music in you, and it's just going to come out, and if people like it, they like it. If people don't like it, whatever. You got to let it out, or you'll go crazy like me and go into computer engineering and have a few screw looses. So, yeah. I really think that's all there is to it. I try not to think too much into it.
You're not an artist if you don't have haters. That's just all it is. I mean, being in this band, please die. The thing is, this is the first band I've ever been in, and being a brony is totally new to me, basically. And I live in Boston. And as you know, Bronycons are all in New York, and these guys are all from the New York area. So it's 4 to 5 hours to get out here and actually practice. But, like, it's totally worth it, because once we do get all together in the small amount of times that we do have, like, for example, we went down to Cliff's house and practiced for, what was it, 5 days straight? 5 days straight, yeah. And we wrote the Fluttershy song, we perfected AJ's, we perfected Winter Wrap Up, we perfected CNC. So once we actually...
From Fighting is Magic.
Yeah, Fighting is Magic.
Take credit.
Yeah, we didn't write that. We only wrote one song so far. But once we all get together, like, it's like, you know, you feel the music and you make the music and you feel like an artist. So I guess to some, being in this band is totally fucking awesome. And yeah.
Alright, awesome. Last question for you guys. In one word, sum up how you feel about tonight's performance. One word.
Oh, one word. I can't. I don't know. I've been up since like 8 p.m. and I had 3 hours of sleep and haven't eaten anything really except like a fiber bar. It's hard to think.
Give it to me, Ajax. Come on.
Banjo.
Alright, Deathnator?
Adequate. Who are you with again?
I'm with Bronyville Podcast.
Okay, because...
That whole sentence is now one word. Rewarding.
Rewarding, alright, cool.
To quote Scootaloo during a star shower, once.
I don't want to say exhausting because I still got energy. Exhilarating. There you go.
All right, cool. And do you guys have a website or a MySpace?
Yeah, we have a Facebook.
You have a Facebook and a YouTube account. So where can I find you guys on YouTube?
All right.
Our YouTube. I don't know if anyone wants to really look at that right now.
Just give me a little plug here. It's fine.
We'll be coming out with originals soon. I hope, like some demos. But otherwise, yeah, we got. I mean, I'm the youngest in the band. I'm in high school, so I'm like the least. Can I just get your YouTube channel?
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's just Neighslayer.
Yeah.
Neighslayer. Okay, search Neighslayer on YouTube. And where can I find you on Facebook?
Neighslayer on Facebook.
Neighslayer on Facebook. All right, awesome.
Slayer.
Neighslayer. One of the best best names for a band, in my opinion. My humble opinion.
I wanted to be Gummies.
I think that is.
I wanted to be Gummy's teeth.
Yeah, we were discussing ironic things. So he had Gummy's teeth. I had Celestia's gala dress.
And if we left the fandom and became like a legit band, we like came up with
Haywire.
Renegade Diner.
Renegade Diner.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to thank you guys so much for coming out and agreeing to do this little audio segment for me. This will be posted up on BronyShow.com. I'll link Ajax on Facebook when I get the chance. So thank you very much to all our listeners out there. Come check out Neighslayer. They're awesome. They rock.
Well, not yet. But yeah, no, go ahead. Check out our Facebook.
Yeah, check out.
Rushing around.
And they're awesome. They're cool. And some of their stuff makes you want to run to Toys R Us, kick down the cash register with your Nordic fur boots, and claim ponies in the name of metal. So thank you, Bronyville listeners, for taking the time.